It's September 22nd today. This past week here in Alaska, it's been such nice fall weather. It's been cold, but there's like a crispness to the air that kind of signals change is coming. The leaves on the trees are turning colors. In my backyard, like half of my tree is, I think it's a rowan tree. It's like orange and red. The front yard and the side, like it's pops of yellow. Leaves are starting to fall, they're on the ground. And like something about just, yeah, I don't know, the air, the crispness in the air, it just like kind of is motivating to do stuff, get stuff done. Really now we're on a time crunch for any like big project in the garden, because when snow hits, sometimes it doesn't always stick the first snow, but it'll pile up and then we can't even see the ground. Right now, Brendan's actually outside. He's working on modifying the ridge cap to our greenhouse, and I'll show you that and talk more about that in another video. But for this video, I wanted to take you along as I baked some raised beds for the garden. So there's a place in the backyard where next to my other raised beds outside where I want to put another one. Like, though our backyard is pretty big, I do want to leave a considerable amount of just like open space for the dog to run in. Also, some parts are more shaded than others, so I want to stick to like the portion of the yard that gets a lot of sun. But then there's also a space in our front yard, which I have not been keeping up on maintenance of our front yard. We moved into this house and it was kind of like another parking spot on our front lawn. Like the first portion of our front lawn was kind of graveled. It's like a trailer parking spot, so it was big. And then they dug it up to like get to the pipes this summer, and now they filled it in and put grass seeds on top of that. I wasn't aware that they were gonna do that, but it's already happened. There's some really tall grass growing there right now. And there's big rocks in the way now, and parts of it are still covered in gravel and like wood chip mulch. So I thought also I could add some raised beds to the front yard and put in maybe certain types of like flowers. I was thinking tulips. I don't know if those are things that will get much done by moose. It's funny, like when I watch gardening YouTube videos, a lot of people talk about deer and deer eating their plants, but we have a lot of moose in our neighborhood. So I'll maybe do like a little bit more research into what exactly to plant out there, but it would be nice to use that space because we don't know what to do with it. And it kind of gets sun. It gets at least like very good morning sun and a decent amount in the middle of the day. So that's also an option of where to put it. I think for today I can still like, you know, cut the pieces of wood, put it all together, and then I'll ask Brendan to help me move it exactly to where I want the raised bed to be, and we can bring it out to the front too if that's where I decide to put it down. I did also want to mention, I wanted to show off my little flower arrangement here. I'm still getting flowers. It's very slow now and definitely not enough to like reliably create like multiple bouquets that I would want to sell. I mean, actually I maybe could if I had like a good variety that was actually in the hoop house, which they're still growing decently. I'm still getting a lot of cosmos. I'm getting some black-eyed Susans, but my status in the hoop house is not doing well. I've planted them way too closely together and just haven't been ventilating it well ever since it got like cold and rainy here. Things in the hoop house started to get very moist, and I wasn't ventilating it enough just by like opening the sides, keeping the door open. I have to play this like game of like, you know, keep it warm but keep the air flowing through, and yeah, I didn't get it right this time. I think also, yeah, having them crammed so close together, it wasn't good for it. So most of my status is gone or like not usable. It's very brown just underneath all of the flowers, and even the flowers are turning brown. And just all of my other flowers, which now I don't expect like so much growth to happen, but I'll wait for the last few blooms, make a few more little arrangements for myself or for our like Airbnb guests downstairs. But yeah, I think mostly today I'm just gonna focus on getting that frame of a raised bed done. Brendan went to the store for me and picked up some 2x4s in his truck, brought them home. So I am just gonna measure them out, get them cut, screw it all together, and hope for the best. I've done this before, so I'm not too worried. I never like using sharp tools because I am just very like scared and squeamish of cuts, but I'm pretty sure I can get this done. No big deal. The first thing I had to do for the raised bed was just measure and cut the pieces of wood. I think Brendan bought me a little bit too many pieces of wood. I had, I think, 4 12-foot 2x4s and then 2 8-foot 2x4s. And I only ended up using the 4 12-foot 2x4s for this raised bed. I decided to make the dimensions of the raised bed about 9 feet by 3 feet. 3 feet wide because I have a raised bed that I made from scrap like the other year or a couple of years ago. That's 4 feet wide. And I noticed, I don't know if you could tell in my videos, I'm pretty short. I'm a pretty short person. I'm only 5 foot, like 5'0". So honestly, reaching into the middle of that 4-foot bed is very difficult for me, and I just kind of wanted to avoid that. I think what I'm going to do more in the years moving forward for especially flower garden is set up like netting, like the Hortonova netting that kind of keeps all the tall flowers, all the tall plants in place and growing upright. So I just want to make sure like that I'm going to make things easy for me to do that. And then I started screwing everything together. Brendan also left me, like, he called it a low power driver and some wood screws. So I just figured I'd put it in the places where I think I need to. I maybe overdid it with some wood screws, but that's not gonna hurt anything. If anything, it will make it stronger. It was just exhausting. I don't know why, but like the screw wouldn't go in. I don't know if it's because it's a low power driver or if it's just because I am weak, but holding up that heavy like driver, you know, holding it like at a perpendicular angle, and then like I have to push the screw in at first for it then to like do its own thing and screw into place kind of on its own. And like holding the buttons down, keeping it at that angle, and pushing for the amount of screws that I did was, for me, just a little bit tough. I got really exhausted by the end of it. I'm sure a lot of other people would have had an easier time of it. I'm pretty weak at the moment, and that sucks. I used to be stronger, I used to be more in shape, but I don't know, it is what it is. If I keep being active and doing stuff, hopefully I'll get stronger and yeah, not get so fatigued so quickly. Another obstacle I came across was when I was trying to cut some corner pieces. I wanted to put like an extra little like 2x4 or whatever, any piece of wood like in the corner joints, just to give it a little extra support so it doesn't become too wonky. And I was using like scrap 2x4s that we had just lying around, some old like scrap 2x4s, and trying to like cut it up with the table saw, and it just kept jerking the piece of the 2x4 away from the saw, and it didn't fully cut. It would jerk it away before it fully like went through. And it happened to me a few times, so I got too scared. I really felt like it was dangerous and I was gonna hurt myself, so I waited, and Brendan eventually, when he came back home, he got those cut for me.
Oh, don't eat it, Chug.
You don't gotta eat everything, Chug.
He's guarding it. He's protecting it. Are you healthy?
I think the problem was that I just didn't know that there was like a button or a latch that could let me move the actual like round saw back and forth. So it was like all the way forward, like closer to me, and it wasn't, the way I was holding that scrap piece of wood was not far like forward enough for it. Anyway, that was really scary. I really thought I really could have like hurt myself or like cut one of my fingers or something, because my arm just kept like going to the side. So yeah, I got everything done. I am gonna keep it out of the way. I'm gonna keep it a little bit further out of the way from the greenhouse that we're converting, our shed to greenhouse conversion. Just because it's helpful for Brendan to have like a big work area around there. But where I want to put it is near the greenhouse, near the front of the greenhouse, like near some of my other raised beds, kind of at a perpendicular angle. And I want it to line up with the edge of the greenhouse, and also with the end, like the far end of one of my other raised beds. So right now it looks like there's gonna be a really tight walkway between the two raised beds that I have, two of the raised beds that I have, but there's a lot of like buckets and crates in the way, filled with plants or filled with water, just things that I can move and make that walkway wider. So I think that's gonna be a good place for it, and the 3 feet wide helps it to line up with the edge of the greenhouse well. So last night I baked some cinnamon rolls. I saw a recipe on Instagram and I wanted to try it out. I think I didn't cook it fully enough, and it was also like a brown butter cinnamon roll, so it was very buttery. And so I had one just before starting to record this, and now I feel like I'm gonna puke. I think it's like acid reflux that I'm feeling. Anyway, so I'm gonna get to cooking something healthy right now. The other day I went out and cut up some kale from the garden. I have a lot of like Tuscan kale. I have some winter borer kale that I cut up too. And then I also have this huge red Russian kale.